Greetings, folks. This is Scott, and you're tuning into A Woman's Place, the podcast where we break down all the policies and politics that affect the 51%. That's right, women are half the U.S. population, and Ashley and I are here to give you the facts about how today's events are affecting them. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good morning, Ashley.
Hello, Scott Osborne. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
Do you know, I'm enjoying, so we're in Southwest Florida and we're having our first taste of, it feels like not 90% humidity today.
I know. This is when our fall starts. So I was actually in Seattle for the weekend, which was cool, and the cool was nice, but gray and rainy. And I thought, no, I'll take the sunshine any day. But let us
Absolutely.
officially say, as of Saturday, hurricane season is over, and I called it that we were going to have no hurricanes this year.
Good.
So
So
as
thankful.
prognosticator, I did okay.
Yeah. And it is timing wise. And so, we record these and they drop at different times, but it's just after the Melissa hit
Hurricane, yes.
Jamaica and all. So we're sending our best, and it just is devastating
Yeah.
when things like that happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. So let's get on with our show today, which
yeah.
I've been very much looking forward to. And this follows on a very timely issue, which was about the 1st of October, if I'm not mistaken, when Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced, among other discussions with the military brass, as we'll call them,
Mhm.
changes or prospective changes to whistleblower protections and protections for those reporting alleged abuses, assaults, etc. within the military. And this has
Mhm.
been a long-running issue within the military, and he proposed some rollbacks to those changes, which got a lot of attention from, among other organizations, Protect Our Defenders. And we're going to be speaking with the head of Protect Our Defenders this morning.
Awesome.
So
And
I want to have a quote that they said, and then we'll introduce Nancy Parrish, who is the founder and executive director, and she will tell us a little more about the organization. But it has been called the preeminent organization which works on behalf of human rights and victim protection within the military. So Nancy's quote from her organization about these proposed rollbacks is, Hegseth's rollbacks drags our military back to a culture we've already rejected.
mm,
Accountability and respect are what make our force stronger. Stripping away whistleblower protections won't build toughness. It will silence survivors, embolden predators, and erode trust when recruitment and retention are already at crisis levels. The next generation of service members expects professionalism, not a return to the days when abuse was ignored. So, we are going to talk about that. Nancy is the founder, as I mentioned, of Protect Our Defenders. That's the national organization dedicated to ending the epidemic of sexual assault and racial disparity in the military. The New York Times has called it the nation's preeminent advocacy group on behalf of victims.
mhm.
Nancy has received numerous awards for this. She also worked with Human Rights Watch while she was in Northern California. The organization was founded in 2011, and she's been instrumental in it ever since. So let's bring on Nancy.
Let's welcome Nancy to A Woman's Place.
Hello,
And
Nancy. We know you're there. Good
yeah,
morning.
Good morning.
good
Thank you for
morning.
joining us.
You're quite welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, I read a great quote of yours, and we started by saying that this was in response to Hegseth's proposed rollback of whistleblower protections at the 1st of October. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. But first, could you just tell us a little bit about Protect Our Defenders, how maybe you came to this and what the organization does?
Sure. Well, Protect Our Defenders was founded 15 years ago
Mhm.
to confront the military sexual assault crisis, the victim retaliation, and the culture of disbelief and disrespect, especially for women, that has allowed it to persist. Our mission is to give survivors a voice, expose the truth, force accountability. And we do this in three ways. We're the only organization that provides pro bono legal representation to service members and their families and civilians caught up in the military justice system who've been sexually assaulted or retaliated against. And we aggressively collaborate with the media to bring these issues to light. We're the we've led the biggest reform in modern military history, ending commanders' ability to overturn convictions and putting professional prosecutors in charge of felonies for the first time. We've proposed and helped pass dozens of fundamental victim protection reforms. But now we're watching those hard-won protections being rolled back under Secretary Hegseth's policy that silence survivors and make retaliation easier. We see the Secretary's personal cultural extremism ideology about women's place in society converge with policy that is dangerous for all of us, and especially for service women. And our urgent mission today is the same as it was 15 years ago: to defend those who defend us and hold leadership accountable, fight for survivors in court and in Congress, and to make sure the truth can't be buried. We fight for these exceptional Americans because truth telling is an act of patriotism, and those who speak up are too often punished rather than protected.
Thank you. I have so many follow-ons to this, but first, I think we should probably step back for some of our listeners. Could you just explain really quickly? The military has its own sense of justice. I'm a former lawyer, and I think many people don't realize that you do not just live in the outside criminal justice system.
You don't. You have your own system, the military justice system. We led an effort for 15 years to fundamentally change it until 2023, December. The system was that a commander was in charge of the justice system. He had no legal expertise. He could determine whether a victim got justice or not. He determined whether an investigation should proceed, whether a case should be prosecuted. He could overturn a conviction if he chose to, just because he felt like it. And so we led efforts to change that, and then candidate Biden publicly stated to us that he supported our changes, and in fact, when he became president, those changes went into effect.
So let me just be really clear. So if someone is in the military, male or female, and has a credible claim of sexual assault, that goes up, that case or trial or investigation goes up through the same military commanders who may be implicated or involved, and there's no other outside recourse. Is that
Well, there's
the
no out.
system?
Yeah, that was the system until December 23, if I have my
Okay.
year right.
Yep.
What we were able to accomplish with great leaders in Congress, Senator Gillibrand in the Senate, Congresswoman Jackie Spear in the House, who were great partners and heroes. And so as of that date, and of giving President Biden his due, because we had tried with President Obama and others, and under Trump as well. So today, the justice system is professionally run by independent prosecutors. That said, I have a caveat to that. When Secretary Hegseth became Secretary of Defense, he promptly fired the top JAGs, the top military lawyers who were in charge of continuing to implement this change. That has been so until the change is appropriately in effect. The system is still a quagmire. Yeah.
Right. So just give us a scale of the problem. I think I read that there were over 8,000 reports of sexual assault in 2024. I mean, how do we think about what's really happening and what kind of issues are going on?
Yeah. Well, I think how we think about it is there are around 225,000 women in the military. They make up almost 20% of the force. The military needs women to fill talent positions that men have not heretofore filled, and and 40% of women who join the military will be sexually assaulted over their term of service. Just think about it.
40%?
40%. Those numbers translate to almost 40%, 38% to be exact, of women.
How do we know this?
We know this because of the data that used to be presented publicly to Congress and to the public on an annual basis. So and also I think it's approximately 8% of men.
Okay.
So it's significant for men as well. Comparing that to civilians, I think it's somewhere around 20% of women in their lifetime are, and I think that if you do the math, that means about 8% in a 7-year period versus service women who 40% face sexual assault.
Yeah, so we're going to come back to the military culture in a minute, but I want to just say something about, so I think also you said, or I read, or one of your reports, that the numbers of men and women who report sexual assault are roughly equal. I mean, the percentage is higher for women because there's so few, but this is also a huge issue for men in the military.
It's a huge issue for men, and of course, there's a culture that men can't be raped.
Right.
And we have fought over the years to bring to change that disinformation. And because men are extraordinarily affected, it's particularly hard for them to come forward. We just represented, I think, 12 male survivors of a egregious case by an Army doctor, and we're able to get convictions finally after years of the military ignoring the problem, years of victims reporting and being ignored and retaliated against and kicked out. So the work's important. The problem's great.
So and hold on, Scott. Before I want to give a little context around some of the reasoning that Secretary Hegseth gave was that one of the big changes is the confidentiality, that it would not be anonymous. It couldn't be anonymous anymore. It could be confidential. I say that in quotes. But I think talking about some of the reasons that he's putting forth and why that really is a hindrance.
Well, his reasons are vague. And as I've said, I believe his personal ideology has converged with policy. You have to look at the fact that it's been reported that he believes women shouldn't serve, shouldn't have the right to vote, but belong essentially at home, and certainly does not believe in, as stated so, that women should serve in combat. Therefore, eliminating positions such as women as pilots, and so you have to understand all of these "quote unquote" reforms in context. Additionally, there has been a significant rollback in our government on protecting truth tellers, whistleblowers, as they're commonly called, and he's done so very systematically. So as a vehicle of silencing survivors and silencing those who want to hold the military accountable. There have been so many scandals, including Epstein, and a case called Fat Leonard, where there was sexual abuse and billions of dollars wasted that were brought forth by whistleblowers. So whistleblowers are an essential part of an effective and free government.
And
So let's talk a little bit.
oh, go ahead, Scott. Sorry, no. Go ahead.
Now, I wanted to switch a little bit to military culture if we could. I mean, I just find it so interesting. The prevalence is high in the military. I mean, I remember years ago when I was young, I think at an impressionable age, when the whole tailhook scandal. I think we're all
Oh, yeah.
old enough to remember tailhook, which is why I'm a little bit amazed that Protect Our Defenders wasn't founded until 15 years ago. That there was nobody doing this beforehand, but that's another topic. But because our culture within outside the military is so militaristic. It's so much an ethos of a dominance culture, as we call it, in terms of male-female behavior, and how much that seeps into the incidences of this kind of sexual assault and sexual aggression. I mean, we know that things like rape are not out of sexual attractiveness. We know it's dominance behavior. And so I guess I just see all these incidences for men and women, which, as we've said, the numbers are roughly equal, as part of that larger culture. I mean, can we reform it without changing this culture? And I know that's an abstract question. I just wonder how you think about that.
Well, we saw it as part of the whole, right?
Yeah.
You have to change the culture. You can't change the culture until you change laws. And we were really seeing a significant change in culture in terms of respect for women, um, understanding that sexual assault was a rampant problem in the military, leaders facing it until the last 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so this culture, as you said, the military, in my view, and why I, as a civilian, became interested in tackling this issue is because the military is the single most social influencer in our country. And if you can change things in the military, you can change culture in broadly. And we've seen it over the decades when Truman integrated the troops. Corporations and communities began to do the same. Frankly, when President Clinton created Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it was controversial, but it was a step in the right direction. When President Obama ended Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which created problems, obviously, for members in the military who were gay, it began to change the culture in society. So the military is the most significant influencer in our society. And so there's a reason that we all need to be involved in this change, and why this recent policy of dismantling whistleblower protections throughout the military is such a destructive force in protecting our troops, in ensuring that the public is aware of scandal when it happens, and or eventually brought to light. And to your point, brave Paula Coughlin was on her own when because reported the tailhook scandal of the sexual abuse she encountered. And Paula's a member of our board. She's an incredible and courageous woman, and she keeps me going every day.
Well, when was that? Just that, do you remember? Was the 70s? Am I remembering right? Or I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm just curious.
I used to know. I used to have it on the tip of my tongue, but
right,
yes,
we can check it out. That's what it feels like, but I don't recall. 80s, maybe?
80s.
It was
I'm trying to think where I was. Yeah. Interesting. So, and here's another one that I don't know if and if not, that's fine. It's not your bailiwick, but I'm just curious how other countries handle this, and are we an outlier, or is it a common problem? There's militaries all over, militaries which have been in many countries, traditionally male, obviously not all. Do you have any idea, or is that not something that you've got on the top of your head?
Yeah, no, we've had to deal. We initially we brought forth to Congress that our allies were ahead of us in creating a more independent system, and it was it took, and it's all about whether this problem persists everywhere. Rape is a war crime. And so it's embedded in the core of human nature, unfortunately. And when it's considered a part of your job, as our military essentially did, it was vestiges of King George III, our justice system, off with their head, the commander totally in control of a system of so-called justice. So we did bring that to light before Congress. We did push that. I think it helped some. But yeah, it's a problem everywhere. It's all about degrees, which military is more effective in really facing it and making it a part of their culture to dismantle the culture that allows it to persist, which is essentially disrespecting women, disbelieving survivors. That's the core of the problem.
So to bring it back to today, are there members of Congress, do you know, or other influential administrators who are pushing back against this Hegseth proposal? Excuse me. Is it a fait accompli, or don't we know yet?
Well, it is a fait accompli. There are legal questions. We believe that the secretary is violating the law. Right now, when you have one political party controlling all levels of government, it is a difficult problem to address, but we know that Republican members are just as frustrated as Democrat members in terms of the secretary shutting down communications between all levels of the military and Congress. I think it's important to talk a little bit about the protections that have been dismantled. There have been basically 4 major policy changes. Plus, Hegseth has eliminated the 75-year-old Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Service, which silences key institutional voice that kept leaders honest about women's readiness and safety. But first, in October 25, the secretary essentially destroyed the inspector general and whistleblower complaint processes. He introduced this so-called 7-day time limit of initial investigation. I mean, that's really a joke, isn't it? Demanding quicker, quote unquote, credibility determinations, and then defining credibility vaguely can mean having a witness. Well, rapists don't usually have witnesses around when the crime's committed. He's ended substantially anonymous complaints. He claims the system has been weaponized by complainers. This directly discourages reporting. His quote of "no more walking on eggshells" policy is a cruel and not so subtle policy shift, returning us back to this culture that disrespects women, disbelieves survivors, creates an overt hostile attitude toward truth tellers, whistleblowers. Second, he issued a directive overhauling channels for reporting toxic leadership and discrimination. He explicitly said leaders must lead without fear of career sabotage and reducing endless investigations, as if investigations are a bother. And third, he changed how service members can communicate with Congress and oversight bodies. And then the Pentagon came back and said, well, military members still retain whistleblower protections and rights granted by law. It's a sick and cruelty deception. And fourth, he required a so-called review of sexual assault prevention and victim rights, causing some services to pause prevention training altogether. So the long-term effect is clear. It emboldens criminals. These complaint systems and inspector general channels directly overlap with protections for sexual assault survivors and whistleblowers. When you dismantle one, you dismantle the other.
Well, and I think having it, focused on we're trying to make it more efficient, or we're trying to, not the walking on eggshells, I think in particular is such that pendulum swing of, we want to not have to be sensitive to people or and it's disheartening at the very basis, and just really, I think, dangerous for that culture shift as well of trying to silence people.
Well, it suggests and legitimizes any kind of behavior that you don't have
Right.
to worry about. If you're not walking on eggshells, it's like you don't have to worry about anything that you may have said or done, which would cause offense, basically. So,
Right.
That's right.
Nancy, I hate to say we're almost out of time. If my time is right here, Ashley.
We are almost, so we got a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
Crazy.
what should we think about that people could do or take away from this and to continue to follow the issue?
In brief, here's what you can do. It does matter that when people contact their representatives, they work for you. Demand that they restore whistleblower protections and oversight mechanisms, and frankly, support organizations that are on the front lines like ours, and uniquely provide free legal services to survivors, to military members. Get out there, and when if you don't know how to help, then reach out to organizations you care about, and they can share with you very specific things you can do. But reaching out to your member of Congress, and not just those you're comfortable with, but those who may have different ideology than you, reach out to them. It matters. They do change their opinion based on what the public has to say.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's always good advice on be willing to have conversations, especially with those who do have different ideology, because if you're in a vacuum or they're in a vacuum, they don't always know the full context of the impact. So I would always encourage people to reach out, and they can go on your website to get more information and maybe some language to use in communications. That'd be
Yes.
We'll put a link to that on our show notes.
absolutely.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Nancy, for sharing your time on this very timely issue.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Take care.